How y'all doing, family? It's the brother Azad, the good brother Hatep here, and I'm here with one of my close brothers, my brother Eternal of the Eternal Roots Band. The man is a man of many things, many talents, many fashions, but the main thing he's gonna be speaking on today is gonna be a thing we call universal law. He's just gonna give y'all a brief, in-depth look of what universal law is and chop it up with y'all about a few other things that you may not be aware of. And like I said, the brother got a lot of knowledge on the universal law, a lot of wisdom, a lot of good insight. So we're gonna hand it over to the brother and just get his take on what universal law is and how certain things in our society and in our world is manipulated by the powers that be. So like I said, this is the good brother Eternal here, and I'm gonna hand it over to him. He gonna speak his piece.
Greetings. There's a format to how we actually looking at the intercourse of life. And in this intercourse, we're having an inner and an outer. And due to that, it's just like right here what I've put out here, them showing the actual symbols or the actual dots that's on the body, as we have like 6 dots. In that 6 dots, it comes from the bottom part. And in the bottom part, you have, of course, your knees, your ankles, your knees, and right here in the groin. Out of this area, you have 2, 4. This is the 5th. And right above the navel is your 6th. And, of course, this is in the groin area. So what we're doing is we're connecting our 6 alignment of chakras. And how do we line that up? By the top part. The top part is showing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then, of course, I forgot to put here the wrist parts. But you having your wrist right here. That's 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 5 being the throat. And then that's being 6. And now you're opening up by 7 being the top. So when we're looking at how the 7 and the 6 relate, we're really not knowing how these numbers connect to us. And so when we think about writing words down and thinking about how they're not related to the numbers, this is where we're getting thrown off. What is the path? Why is the path put out there? Because it's known as Ptah. And if we don't know Ptah, Ptah is like a building. We have to build something. So what we do, we build our energy up. How do we build it? By maybe paying attention to why the actual squares, shapes, geometry put in front of our face. When we don't see this, we might not see the X and the triangle together. We might not know that this triangle is the same thing as saying a triangle that just happened to be cut apart. If you think about a Y, that's the same thing as a triangle. So your X and your Y is really representation of the square and the triangles, but we don't see that. We end up just seeing letters. So when we let her, that's the letter, we let her in, we might not know what kind of spell we're putting on ourselves. The L. So just the idea that I said L is a representation of what we call spirit and energy in ourselves. We could call the L electric, magnetic. Is this how what things change from one side to the next? But if I said the word top, like we're at the top of our head, we get topsy-turvy when we say too many things that messes up the mind to a point where we're now over ourselves. Peace. And we get into a point where, we end up tripping and falling. So when we think of sept, as in sept to separate, you think of September, timber meaning to fall. So what we have in this season, fall. Isn't that ironic? I'm just saying, these are the things that keep going back in your mind and showing you a remembrance of yourself. But now how do you identify yourself? By seeing the centering of yourself. So when I'm saying this, I'm looking at the triangle, right, as like saying VA. We say the V and the A, but the A missing the line right here. If I take that off, that looks like the peak. You know what I'm saying? If I turn it upside down, it actually looks like a cattle. It looks like a bull. See, these are symbols they're putting in our face, and we might not be seeing that. Just like when I said about top, if I put when I turn the word around, I got pot. And when I put an L in that, that's the plot. How to reverse each other? By taking out your L and reversing it so you might not see what I'm giving you. Let's say wall, for instance. Wall is W-A-L-L. If I turn around, take out the L, I see law. Law is in a lot of things that we put into ourselves. We're connected by law. Law is spiritual, connected to the cosmic, to the universe. So if we don't see how we're governed by law, we might be out of law. We marry to get in law. So why is that a maritime feeling? Because it's connected by water. It's connected by reflection. So let's just say we got 4 parts of zodiacs, right? I mean, 4 elements: fire, earth, air, and rain. And in the fire, earth, air, and rain, we got one of them, of course, the rain would be considered the water. So wouldn't that be reflection? It's like a mirror. So we're seeing reflection out of most of those in that zodiac sign of water. So if we look at fire, fire could be physical. So we're looking at those that in that compartment are mainly physical on their things that they do, their actions. You know, the words might be more powerful, or it might be their action. So now that's how they balance themselves. Are they using more of the action or using less of the action? You know, this is what we look at as in balancing ourselves. So when I'm talking about centering ourselves, it's like a pyramid. So if I'm going to a pyramid thought, I might not know my fire mid. So that might mean I don't know how to be physically with my midsection. Why? Because it could be connected by what we're saying, seeing the X. Some people call it sex. Some people call it that low vibration of pornographic thinking. And so that's why my navel chakra is my midsection. Going higher is going into my solar plexus, going into the actual X, because this is the solar plex. If we can't see it, we become complex. This is how the X is having so much of a centering point that if we can't point it out, we won't see the peak of it. And that's why this symbol of the A and the V and the A has some kind of symbolic play in our mind, and we want to see more about it, but we just probably don't look at it like that. We don't go as far as what we could look at. So when we look at flat form, just like the ground, is it flat as in solid and there's nothing else? It's like straight solid? If I get to the ground, though, and I look at the level, will I actually see little pebbles and rocks that shows me that, oh, it's not as level as I thought? Maybe it's because it's my perception standing up here and not getting down there with the earth to find out that. So when it comes down to people who dive into things, are they diving in with the emotion and not knowing how to use their action? When you're using your action, is you using too much action and can't realize what your emotion is to where you're blind? It could be compassion. So we need to have compassion. How do you communicate? Do you communicate like an X that didn't know you could become a square? Do you communicate like a triangle that went up and didn't realize there was another one that can go down? Are you realizing you could be a circle and sometimes you twist yourself up to end up looking like an X or an 8? Because if I took the lines up the top and the bottom of an 8, it'll look like the letter X. So this is why we say X marks the spot. This is why we say, see me here, you belong here, you're here on a map. Turn around, it's Pam. But why do we look at that? By turning that again and you see amp. We amp ourselves, but with what? Do we hurt each other or do we change it to hertz? If I put it in the wires of this wall, can these hertz amp up the building so now I can have higher industrial connection versus residential? If I'm using it like that, is this residential so short circuit that I might have too much masculine that it destroys the feminine? This is what we all need to think about. That's why we go with universal law. We have to see where is it in your mental that you destroyed before you even came out to this physical. Yeah, we could talk about all these things. We could talk about the FEMA. We could talk about Ma'afa. We could talk about all of these things. But if we don't see that the Hulk is the woman and the soiled dove connection is about 1863 compartment apartment, thinking about how women is now being destroyed on each planet of the earth, this is why we having problems. This is why we haven't seen, this is why war still exists. Look at the word war, W-A-R. Turn it around, you see raw. We don't see our raw selves. So why we haven't checked it? Because we don't look into what's the natural part, your chakras. How do you align these chakras up? How do you open the colors up? Peace to you, brother. How do we open it up to a point where we can make more expansion to what we call confidence? If I notice I walk left and right? If I'm walking like that, how come I don't know that I probably have to use my same connection with everything I do. If I hit a drum, maybe I do need to use my left so I have that other confidence that I probably don't even use that left for. If I was eating food, I would use this as a separation saying man and woman because one is pulling, one is pushing. Same way with the current in the wall. So when we think about food, are you eating more rooster? Oh, you probably haven't had any rooster. I would think you should eat rooster since you're eating chicken. I'm saying that's just to balance yourself out. If you're eating cow, shouldn't you eat the bull? Yeah, I would think so because it would balance it out, I would think. I mean, this is just to say hypothetically. I'm not saying you got to necessarily go out there and eat that. I'm just saying if I look at the actual vegetation, it has masculine and feminine in it. And I'm not saying there's no separation in this masculine and feminine when you cook it. So it's still points where we can now change the dynamics of what's going on, even for when we think nature is really looking out for us. Are we destroying it in a manly way? Look at day men. I know most people don't say, what is day men? It's almost like die men, because this is what we demand all the time. We demand justice, we demand, and before we know it, we're making a diamond. We're crushing things. But how do you crush it and condense it without making it known that it has a feminine attribute towards it? How do you don't hug it and love it like it has compassion towards that level? Because if I was lost, it was because I didn't have no navigation. But if I don't have no navigation, it's because I didn't have a compass. But how can I have a compass if I can't come by anything, come past anything, and have no compassion to be compassionate in the first place? This is the weird thing about it. How come 6 is scared of 7? Anybody know? How come 6 is scared of 7? Because, come on, somebody. You was about to say it. Oh. I said, how come 6 is scared of 7? Come on, this is easy. It should be easy. Anybody? Okay, there you go. Because 7, 8, 9. 7. 7 is the connection to heaven. But how are you going to get the spiral connection to something that's shooting in darts? That's the spiral of 8. That's why 8 is connected to 9. I know it's a comical thing, but there's always reminders around you all the time. How do you interject and make yourself in that higher power, or do you feel that the higher power is over you and now you're just under it? Because we become submissive. We come to a point we subject our things to a subjectile instead of projectile. If you heard of zenith, you know that you can throw something to its highest peak, and that's really like your name. So when we think a name, are you saying amen and didn't know it? Yeah, just turn the words around, you'll see it. These are the things that we have in front of us. We just don't claim it. And then we go on to the next thing as if we mastered that. We ain't mastered anything yet. So let's start mastering some stuff before we say, oh, let's go on to the next thing. Because if you keep going around escaping and like throwing a rock, you're not getting deep enough. You're not knowing how deep this essence can go. You know, and this is where I look at the dichotomy, where they separate, the trichotomy, where they make it now in threes. So now you see Trinity all the time. But do you realize when you wake up, you in the Asar, you now become the Usir. You're like the user because you came out of this resurrection. Arise, Aries, coming out. You know what I'm saying? Only way you're going to connect, though, but by breath. Taurus, the energy, got to have breath. Now that you up, you connect to Gemini, comedy, drama. But are you too much drama and too much comedy? Can you connect the Cancer? Do you get into your feelings? And if you're into your feelings, as this being the beginning of your head, Aries hitting your eyes. Taurus, you breathing it. Gemini, you hear it. Now Cancer, you taste it. Now how does it feel? Does it feel good? Are you connected from this fire physical that started here and then to the heart? Because that's the fifth. If I counted from 1 of my eyes, 2 my nose, 3 my ears, 4 my mouth, then 5th is my heart. I'm still connected. I just don't see fire, earth, air, rain, fire, earth, air. And if I go fire from this heart, my earth got to be where the stomach at. That's where I'm eating, right? So that's earth. And now I need air, though, to break that down because it can't just stay down there. There's a fire down there, too. So once I'm done with the air, I need to rain it in or rain it out. And, of course, we do exit in, exit out. And so how does that work? With some fire down there. You got to have fire down there. So who's that? This is Sagittarius right here. We got Sagittarius at the hips. We got the heart of Leo in the midsection. We got the heart of Aries on the top. Now, how we don't know this stuff? You know what I'm saying? How we don't know we got rams in the head, and if the rams were in the head, it'd be just like rams of a computer. And if you can compute, then you would be great. But if you can't compute, then you're kaput. When a computer goes out, you need somebody else to fix it. But who fix you? You fix yourself. How do you fix yourself? Breath. Breathe. Push your stomach out. Not your chest. That's a rib cage. Then hold it. Because, you got to hold it for a second. See if you can do that. Then release. After you release, it's like a balloon being submerged in the water, and now, poop, comes right on out. This is where the toxin lay at. They call it the tan 10 if we were doing martial arts. So when it comes down to how do you get rid of your suffering, you got to go down deep enough. You got to pull it on out. How you going to feel anything if you always going like this? Oh, man, I wish it, oh, man, dang, oh. You ain't getting nothing out. You still got it in there. So it's in your gut. I got this gut feeling. I don't know, something going on. I don't know. So let's look at that. If I was Sagittarius and I'm right here at the hips and I got the kneecaps as in Capricorn, I might think of capital or decapitation. I might cut off something, or somebody might be cutting me off. This is like looking at my knees bend. Now, why am I important with this knees and stuff? Because it's testimony. It's harmony. If I don't have any money, I might not feel like it's funny. Why do they use these concepts? Because it's harmonic in your brain. Harmonic. Hear the word harmony or harm on you and me. This is where we use our skills at. How we use our skills. If we don't use the skills, it get ill. And that's illusions. How do I feel stuck in illusions? Because it makes you a dis-ease. You're a dis-ease if you don't know how you're feeling. You could freeze. Stop. Stagnant. If you're so stagnant, then your movement doesn't go. So what is that caused? By emotion? Being emotional. That's motion to all. So you have to have a flow. You need to know how to wave your thoughts versus just being stuck in a current. You could be a currency, a flow. That's why currency is what they call it. But is it just that? If I don't give you any money, you going to be mad I ain't give you any money? Shouldn't. Because it's just a currency. It's just energy. If we got to pass energy along, let's do it where we're not hurting each other. Let's do it where I'm not mad that you didn't give me none of your currency. We got enough. We got plenty. I can't wear your shoes. I can't wear the same size you got. I don't wear the same brand you wear. So if anything, if I want some shoes, I could make some, create some. That's where the creation comes from. Because if you're in the mind cave, you're in the mind craft too. This is a mind thing. So mind is almost like mind your business, but at the same time, it's like a mind being in a cave. Who is that? That's not you. If it is, then this is why we feel the way we feel. This is why we go through torturing each other, because we want to see the two of the torture. We want to see the two of it tore, like a heart. Why do I talk about Capricorn? I ain't get no further, because Capricorn represents that X in Roman numerals. They call it the X. But if it's the X, then is this X unknown? Is it see the X and didn't pay attention to it? If I cut this in half, wouldn't that be 5? Oh, that would be the heart. See, this is how I'm like seeing why are we caught into the things we're caught into. Maybe because we're caught by this. You know what this is, right? No, I'm not talking about the cross. I know some of y'all thought that. But I'm talking about the T in time. You could be caught in time. Because we say lost. They give the children SOLs in school. If I put a T on it, it's still lost to them if they don't see it in reverse. Because they're using their soul. I mean, the standard of what? Learning what? Who's learning what? We already know these things. We just need to relearn what we already learned. That's the only real reason why we go to school in the first place. We might have forgotten our own memory. But we have a memory bank, don't we? It's like the bay and the bank. If there was a bay and a bank, then maybe the bank got put on the bay, and now that's what your currency is now done. I'm just saying, it's called Chesapeake Bay. I mean, you just look around. Do your own research. Figure this stuff out. I mean, what was like a invisible thing that we were using might have just came to the visible, but now someone's putting a claim on top of it. Like, as we say, the X, to make an X clan on yourself. X you out. External, exit. This is all to explain something. An X to a plane, that's still a square. We just don't see it there. If we look at how the square and the triangle is all the same, we can see how the diamond, the man who wants to demand everything and don't see the feminine out of himself, how the diamond represents 2 sevens or 3 sevens, or even, let's just say 7, 7, and a 7. So let's just say 21. If we represent 21 and put 21 plus the 21, we got the 42 concepts of what we call virtue. I mean, we could break this stuff down all the way, or we could just simplify it too. It's just that easy. I mean, we are the living chakras walking around having red root chakra going on, or are we in a highlight of the violet? Are we thinking these levels? Are we going into those levels and be able to regenerate things that we could take on a collective? If we look at how many sisters been taken down, we look at the bowl, how we bow down to these things. If we're a bowl, it's just like how a woman is, concave with energy. So if I know that and I drink water, I'm still connected to the feminine divine, but I might not pay attention to these things. So I might be just continuously raping her. So we all continuously raping the mentality of how we actually are. Why? What's the purpose? If we don't know, like people, Village Academy, who bring a actual center, home centering for you to come to, change up your dialogue. Let's learn Kiswahili. Let's do different things. Let's hit the drum. Let's learn the left hand versus just having right-handed things that we do. You know what I'm saying? Let's learn some martial arts. We got all of these abilities. It's just, are we applying ourselves? So what can make you better? We call it your appearance and character. If you know your appearance and character, then you're that better person. Wherever you go. I could be down the street and you're still going to have to see me. I mean, sooner or later we're going to run into each other. So if that's the case, I don't want people to think, okay, Soil Doves, 1863, what does that got to do with me? It was the love that turned to a dove. And they dove as in domesticated with violence. They have the sisters go over there actually thinking they're doing a mission to help out us in the war. And instead they say, you're the night nurse. The night nurse? Yeah. So now you got to give them a happy ending. This has been done and it's still going on all the way to now. This is why we got parlors. Look at John Doe. Who's John? The John that goes to those kind of clubs. They call him a gentleman. But is he a Gentile man or a gentleman? See, there's a difference between a wordplay to where you can end up being a heathen and not know it. Just like Queen Moo. How many people even study Queen Moo? I mean, Queen Moo, I know a cow that says moo, but I don't know a woman that is named Moo. And yet she's the one that came on this side to give us another knowledge of our Asiatic so-called, when we called it black man and we didn't know this stuff. You know what I'm saying? So how do we connect to it? We go back to it, we see it for what it was, we revise ourselves, we correct ourselves, and we move on, because that's what Sankofa was about. How do I touch back in tune with myself? How do I connect to that? Why am I into AM and PM, and if I reverse it, it could be Ma, and it could be paternal Ma. Because, you know, paternal Ma is still the parent of both patern, all to Ma. I mean, so this is where we connect to. How do we see that if I put a key in the door, it's not connected to myself? How do I know that this might be the masculine part and the hole is the key? I mean, the keyhole is the feminine part. You know what I'm saying? How do I not get these two to be bonded as one? Because that's what we're looking for. How to bond things. There's a line in between the street, but we don't know how it's bonding the other sides of the street. We usually look at, oh, he doing something over. Oh, he doing something. So you working on opposites? That's how you bond? If it was actually raining, what side would you go on the street? The side is down or the other side is down? You know what I'm saying? So just like what we were saying about this, if I'm spiraling down in my low chakra, this is all I'm going to talk about. I'm not going to go any higher. So when we want to elevate ourselves, we got to either go to the higher people who talks like this, or we're just subject to the lower people who continue to talk like this. I mean, it's all in your choices. We don't have to have options. That's for dogs and animals that feel like they don't have to be a being, because you're more than a being. You just haven't realized that. And so being a being makes you do things like being. You're like a doing thing. It's a verb. You're a verb. You're a walking, moving verb. Why people take pictures and they say stand still? Because they can't get your whole movement. You're like on the go. So this is why we're on that. So Capricorn, they could take up decapitation on you, but yet at the same time, this is known as sacrifice the goat. That's why we say we raise our kids. We shouldn't raise our kids. We should rise our children. Why we raising kids? What's that about? So you saying we got to put them in a kindergarten? That's, again, some kind of way we manipulated a concept of birth, contracted with something invisible, and now made it tangible. And then we're constantly going to that tangibility like that's going to aid you. This is why the brutality is still happening on the streets. We're going to the wrong people. I done heard someone got raped because they put their daughter in. She put her daughter in and then expected some results coming back out. Are you serious? There is no more correction places out here. We have to be the correction places. You have to start now inside, then work on the outside, then you can work on that further outside. Otherwise, you're just wasting time, you're wasting other people's time, and everybody's starting, as you see, getting bitter. So you don't want them more bitter than what you already got them at. Change your dynamics up. Yes, we have to be more responsible of ourselves. When it comes to our empire, you're the inspirer of that. So is your spiration spiraling out? How much do you put out? Is it your re that you're stuck into? Or is it the I where you're saying, I'm doing everything. It's all me. When you think about me is mental, physical. Mental to the physical. So why do we say all lives matter? Black lives matter, blue lives matter? Because you're making spirit on the matter now. So now everything matters. Great, good job. Y'all did great. Thank you for that. Whoever did that. Great job, y'all. I mean, excellent. However, it's still opening doors. So no matter what you do negative, you're going to see the positive. You just be the neutral. You find out what you need to do, neutralize it, and become wise out of it. That's why we got the rainbow. That's the rainbow to bow to the L. If it's bowing down, it's showing you the bend. How flexibility come? It don't come straight all the time. We have to have a bend to it. You know what I'm saying? So even my finger bends. I got to have some kind of curve to myself. I can't be straight line like masculine, 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 masculine. No, I got to have some feminine to myself. And how am I going to break anything down if I'm so masculine, masculine? People going to run away from me. Nobody going to want to hug me. So how am I lovable? How am I huggable? I'm not saying you got to be completely huggable and lovable. Maybe that's your department to be huggable. Maybe the other department is the cut, masculine, masculine. But he going to still need to tame that. We all need balance. It's in your fire. It's in your earth. It's in your air. It's in your rain. If you even study any of my Melchizedek or the elements that we even have in this conscious planet, when we go in here, we actually got metaphysic to now physical. You can see where you're at. Come in here, you get a reading. Got plenty of brothers that can come in here to help you out. Sisters too. We're in that village life now. No more savage life. We had to save the age instead of being savage. Who comes up with these words? Until you start using it, making it better, then it's going to always cripple you too. So we got to change us. Change us. This is what we're about. Changing. Margaret Sanger. You already know about her. You know, she put out the so-called prophylactics and the BC, the birth control pills. Like, you're giving birth to who? You're controlling birth, and now you're stagnated. And not only that, you're sterilizing. And those who can't sum it up to it, when they have those stillborns and they say, oh, I'm just getting rid of this body, they're using your body, and they're selling that. High product. Plasma bank. If you're going to the plasma, I used to do it, so I'm a part of you too. Job Corps. I went in there, didn't know. Put my arm up there, and then after a while, because, you know, we go through it a series of times until we finally say, ding, light need to change. Why am I doing this? I asked the lady, I said, if I stick this needle, if this needle is constantly stuck in my arm, what happens to my arm? She says, you're going to have a continuous hole in your arm. Are you serious? Like, I'm going to have a hole forever in my arm because I'm giving up my only white blood cells that keeps me from fighting any disease that pops in my freaking body. Was I paying attention? No, not at that time. But it woke me up right then. Let me know, okay, that's it. I don't need to be in here no more. Because, I mean, you get a result from it when you doing work and having a workout, and come to find out when I lifted up the weight, it hurt my arm. And I realized that's when it's going to really hit me. I'm going to have a broken arm eventually, and it's going to be my fault. It's called entrapment. Stop putting yourself in places that's only going to humiliate you and destroy your whole body. I mean, that's why trichotomy came up. It's to separate your mind, your body, and your spirit. So if you separate it on any of these three, You need to gain them back. This is why you're seeing the X, and you might be on one side of it. You need to get back in the center. Center yourself. Find out where it's at. Even if you have to go to different centers, library center, market center, I don't know. It's places. Really, it is. You have to find it, all right? I'm not going to say too much because I said enough. And with that, I appreciate the time and the opportunity, because what we're going to hear about how we're changing is going to be because we're doing it, not because we just, oh, we got to do something. Do it. Come on out here. Come to Conscious Planet. Go down the street. Go to HOC. Go to Truth Books and Knowledge. Go to Positive Vibes. We all out here. So whenever you got time, which is emit, E-M-I-T, reverse the words, you can have it. It's here for you, all right? Peace and love. I'm Eternal. Respect.